So as I was kind of getting prepared for this, I really thought back to my time as the vice president of recruitment and on the recruitment committee. And so I really know that your job is tough. I've been in the trenches. I know that the weight is on your shoulders to perform this year. And I really understand that a good vice president of recruitment can really impact his chapter, both in the short term and the long term. You've probably heard before a million times, recruitment is the lifeblood of the fraternity. I have a little bit of a different saying, but along the same lines, recruitment, in my opinion, is the fastest way to change a chapter's trajectory for better or for worse. Recruiting a bunch of the right guys can lead to better chapter culture, better success. Recruiting a bunch of the wrong guys can really tank the chapter in just a semester or two. So recruiting the right people is critical to our success as an organization and your success as a chapter. With fraternities under a constant microscope and insurance rates at an all-time high, it's so important to make sure that recruiting the right people is at top of mind for you, the rest of your recruitment committee, the executive board, and your chapter. We want the right people recruited the right way. We want the right type of chapter experience. But I know with all that, that's tough to comprehend. That's tough. That's a lot of weight on your shoulders. So I also understand your struggles in trying to accomplish that. The majority of the time, we hope that recruitment is a chapter-wide activity. A lot of the weight goes on your shoulders, but it's everybody's responsibility. And we hope that it is everybody's responsibility to do so. Keeping everyone up to date on which potential new members we're talking to can be difficult, especially if you're just using a static Excel spreadsheet or maybe the Notes app on your phone. Keeping everybody in the loop on what's going on can be tough. Recruitment committees can be really frustrating, especially during those meetings where guys keep saying, he's a chill dude. I swear, if I heard that one more time during a recruitment committee meeting, I would have lost my mind. You guys know it. He's a chill dude. He's a good dude. He's a good bro. Think he'd be a good SIGEP. You guys have heard it a million different times. You know how frustrating it is. A lot of guys in your chapter probably only care about recruiting during rush, like the 1 or 2 week period at the beginning of the semester. So it's hard to keep people motivated throughout the entire year. And lastly, especially when we were in person, I know I always looked forward to when the regional director would come to town and he would host like that recruitment workshop where he would teach everybody how to do recruitment. He would do that recruitment skills style training to teach you how to be a good salesman. Well, it's even tougher now. One, because we're in a virtual setting and our staff structure is a little bit different. So maybe you haven't got to experience one of those recruitment workshops in this virtual setting. And so training your recruitment committee is probably a little bit tougher this year than last as well. I know there's a ton of moving pieces in your role. So we've developed technology that hopefully helps you do your jobs a little bit easier. It's not going to recruit for you. It's not going to change the game overnight. It's just a tool to help you manage everything and help make your life a little bit easier as the vice president of recruitment. The best part is it's all free. It's all integrated into the chapter tools that you're already using. This is not a sales pitch. I just want you to be aware of what's at your fingertips and how you can possibly use it. And the best resource that I can be is that I talk to chapters all across the nation who are using this and sharing best practices with me so I can share them back with you. So we're gonna get into it. If you listen to nothing else, listen to this part real quick. This is the recipe for success. I can guarantee you, absolute guarantee, money back guarantee, if you follow these tips, you will be successful in recruitment this year. There's no doubt in my mind. It takes discipline, it takes determination, it takes organization to get it done. But here's the secret sauce. Everything in life needs a solid place to start. Foundational things that help you grow and succeed. Without them, you will absolutely crumble, but with them, you'll be able to succeed. So whatever you're doing in life, you need a solid foundation. So if you're an entrepreneur and you want to eventually go create a startup, you're going to be asked to present a business plan to investors. You need a clearly defined scope of what your goal is as that startup. If you're building a house, you literally need a firm foundation. Without a firm foundation, your house is literally going to shift, it's going to crumble, the walls are going to start cracking. You're not going to be able to live in that house much longer without a firm foundation. If you want to get into app design, you need a clear vision and a talented team to execute that vision. If you're looking to date somebody, I know I'm getting married this summer. If you're looking to date somebody, you need a great first impression. That first impression could make or break you. So you need a solid foundation in that relationship as well. And this might be a little controversial, might be the most controversial thing I say all night. If you're Tom Brady, you need to plan out your routine and have the discipline to be a 7-time Super Bowl champion and the greatest football player of all time. I saw a couple get mad.
That part was controversial.
Sorry about that. Sorry. Okay, we'll make it less controversial throughout the rest of the night. So in the SigEp world, we call these foundational things core components. These are the things that you need to nail down as a vice president of recruitment before you do anything else. And so we're going to walk through each one of them and talk about how mySigEp could potentially help you enhance these processes. So we are going to start with number one. The first core component that we want to talk about is recruitment goals. So I'm going to write that up on the flip chart here right behind me. We've been doing like virtual stuff forever. I used to love carrying around this flip chart from campus to campus, and I haven't done it in like a year. So I whipped it back out just for this session. So I'm going to write it up here on the flip chart. As I'm writing though, there's going to be a poll that comes up on Zoom, and it's going to ask you a question that I want you to respond and react to. So I'm going to launch this. You guys should be able to see this. After everybody votes, I'll take it down and then I'll share the results with you. Basically, I want you guys to help me understand the statement that best describes your chapter's recruitment goal. Either you don't have one, you have a vague idea. Some people know your recruitment goal, or the entire chapter knows your recruitment goal. All right, 20 people have voted. The last 5, trying to get it in there. All right, so let me share the results. Nobody responded, which is amazing that you don't have a recruitment goal. That's phenomenal. It's great to have that clear vision. A couple people responded that we have a vague idea of how many new members we'd like to get. That's okay, but there's obviously a little bit of an opportunity to improve. If the executive board is the only people that know your goal, you're missing out on an opportunity to make recruitment a chapter-wide activity. Everybody should be involved in recruitment, so everybody should know what we're striving towards. The last one, the last answer here, option D, number 4, that's the best option you could have chosen. If you chose that one, you're spot on. You guys are crushing it. Our recruitment goal has been clearly communicated to the entire chapter. That's great. That's exactly what we want. Especially as it relates to fiscal health of the organization, this one's really critical to have everybody bought into. Most of the time, this recruitment goal is decided upon in tandem with the executive board, the recruitment committee. Hopefully chapter volunteers are weighing in a little bit, and maybe even the staff, somebody that's on the recruitment team, maybe helped provide a little bit of input on what your recruitment goal should be. The recruitment goal really takes into consideration past performance, long-term optimal size, healthy growth expectations. For example, there, healthy growth means, if I'm a 30-man chapter and we have a goal that we want to grow the chapter by 60 men, so we want to add 60 people to our chapter, it may not be healthy for our chapter to grow that by tomorrow, right? It may not be healthy for the organization to grow by 60 men when we're only a 30-man chapter, but it could be healthy to grow it over the next 2 to 3 to 4 semesters. So long-term kind of strategic vision of what is our optimal size and how do we get there is really critical. So in mySigEp, we are going to briefly look at these things called dashboards to talk a little bit more about how to surround yourself with all the information you could possibly need in order to make an effective decision there. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can see this, but I'll also kind of walk you through the steps on how to get there. Mike Ellis, can you see my screen? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Good stuff. All right, Lucas, I told you I was gonna log in as you, so here we go. So I am logged in as Lucas Parrish. Nobody else will be able to log in as anybody else. You'll only be able to log in as yourself, but just for demonstration purposes, I am logged in as Lucas. So when I first log in here, the first thing that I want to do to get to the dashboard is click on my chapter up in the top right-hand corner. So Lucas is an undergraduate brother at Missouri Alpha, our chapter at Mizzou. So I'm going to click into there. Now I'm going to see chapter tools. These are all the things that are available to me as a chapter officer or a chapter member, specifically related to my time in the chapter. To get to the dashboards, we want to click right here on the dashboards. Now, if you've been here before, you probably noticed a couple new ones. We just launched a couple new ones just in the last 2 days. And there are a couple pieces of statistics that are still working on being populated. So if you see any blanks or if you see anything that looks a little wonky right now, just bear with us for a couple more days. We're working on rolling some more of these out before the Buck Cup application goes live here in the next week or so. So there are 2 dashboards that could be specifically relevant to your time as a Vice President of Recruitment. Right now, those 2 are recruitment and the Balanced Band Scholarship. So these 2 dashboards could be relevant to you in your time setting goals or working with the executive board to figure out that optimal size. So quickly, I'm going to kind of go through and say what each one of these tables are, what the information is, and how this could be beneficial to you. So at the top here, this is a long-term view of your chapter's PMR. The PMR is the Periodic Membership Report. That is the annual census that the fraternity takes every March. You'll have another opportunity to update your roster and submit that again. Usually the chapter president or the vice president of finance will take care of that. But this is kind of a good way to look at how has my chapter grown over time. Now Lucas's chapter, sadly, they went through a closure. And so you see a couple zeros here. But Lucas's chapter is bouncing back. They're doing good stuff. They're on the up and up. They're doing awesome. So this may help you understand history. Lucas was not in the chapter in fall 2015. So he may not know what the chapter size was at the time. So this may help you have long-term understanding or long-term history of the chapter's size at a certain point in time each year. So this next one is recruitment goals versus the number of new members that came in and the difference. We're working on improving how this looks a little bit and automating some of the statistics in here. These recruitment goals were usually 99% of the time agreed upon with the chapter's either regional director or staff service provider. And then once you guys agree on those goals, they're logged in our system. Over time, we go back and we check how many new members did this chapter get, and then we log that number here. You can see the difference. That's just a calculation of recruitment goal minus the number of new members. What's the difference there? So this is going to tell you, maybe this would be really helpful to say, in the last 5 years, in the spring, we've never recruited more than 5 guys. So setting a recruitment goal of 50 probably isn't going to be realistic. But maybe, again, you don't have that institutional knowledge because you weren't in the chapter. This table can help you understand how many new members a chapter got by semester over time and what that recruitment goal was. Now I want to give Lucas and his team a big shout out here. So this one is new members by month. So this one's kind of a relatively new one that we've recently introduced as we've learned how to calculate this a little bit more. But what this is trying to illustrate is whether the chapter is doing year-round recruitment and continuous open bidding. Lucas's chapter here, you can see this aggregate for the year 2020 recruited 8 out of 12 months of the year, which is phenomenal. That means members have accepted bids 8 out of 12 months out of the year, which is really good. That shows that Lucas and his chapter are doing pretty good at year-round recruitment. In fact, the highest chapter was only recruiting 9 months out of the year. So Mizzou's doing pretty good right here. So if your chapter is primarily only recruiting during the month of August and the month of January, you're going to see huge spikes there. This is really only if your university allows you to do continuous open bidding or extend bids 365 days a year. But even if they don't, while your results aren't going to be reflected here, you can still do recruitment, which is relationship building, right? So even if you're not necessarily extending bids or people aren't actively joining the chapter, you can still be relationship building throughout the entire year. And this last one here is a new one. I don't think anybody's going to see any data on here just yet. So give us a little bit of time to populate this one in the next few days. But this one's going to be all related to the chapter's potential new member list built into mySigEp. So it's going to show you the number of new leads that have been added within that semester, how many have been converted, and what your conversion rate is. So these types of dashboards could be really helpful to your conversation when setting a recruitment goal. If you feel that recruitment goal maybe should change or isn't representative of what you guys agreed upon, reach out to your staff service provider and just have that conversation with them. They're the ones that can ultimately change that on the back end. And so you can have that conversation with them. If you don't know how to get there, if you don't know how to find that, from sigep.org, if you click on About SigEp, Who We Are, and then Chapter Support, everybody has a little table right here. Every chapter is in here. So if I type in Missouri Alpha, I'm going to see these 4 people in the areas of recruitment, the membership experience, and chapter leadership. Those are my staff people. So I can call on those guys anytime out of the day. 3 a.m. is great. 2 a.m. is awesome too. But those guys can help you get that number updated. So that's a recruitment dashboard. I want to show this is the Balanced Man Scholarship dashboard as well. These statistics are pulled from a staff-based assessment. So the staff will sit down with either you or the outgoing Balanced Man Scholarship chairman, somebody along those lines that has good insight into the chapter's results in relation to the Balanced Man Scholarship, and they'll fill this out. So Lucas's chapter got 118 applications. They interviewed 80 guys, and they recruited 13 of those 80 guys, which is a phenomenal conversion rate. They provided 4 scholarships and distributed $3,000 over those 4 scholarships to those guys. So that's really good progress. That's really good results on the Balanced Man Scholarship. And so that's another cool way that you can track your chapter's progress straight in mySigEp. So recruitment dashboards in mySigEp. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of an understanding, a little bit more historical context and institutional knowledge on the chapter size over time. And ultimately, the goal is not necessarily to have you look at that every single day, but just provide you a little bit of historical knowledge that can help you when you're making decisions. So that's number 1, recruitment goals. That should be clearly defined, clearly articulated. And now you know one method in mySigEp where you can see a little bit of historical context. So I'm going to pause real quick because I got a couple questions in here. So does mySigEp provide a means by which to communicate recruitment goals and standards? So the best way to do this is to drive people to this so they can see it in real time. So if you call your staff service provider, it gets updated, they can also see that it's been updated. The best way to communicate what that goal is whatever method that you feel comfortable with. This is not a social network. It's not necessarily a really fancy communication tool. So if you guys have Slack, if you guys have GroupMe, other methods that you guys are more comfortable with, post that recruitment goal in the chat. Get people hyped up about it. Get people really excited about what that recruitment goal is. That's the best method to communicate what that goal is across the chapter. Mike, I see your hand up. Do you want to come off mute?
Well, I just realized you were taking questions for chat, so I asked it there. But a quick tally of the numbers that I couldn't do it fast enough to add them all up, but it looked like they had recruited over 25 guys, but membership is at 17. So I saw a discrepancy. Is that because the dashboard might not be current, or because they've had a problem in member development and retention?
So that's not necessarily a real-time reflection of their membership. That is the one-time annual census that we take throughout the year. So the PMR is as of March 1st every year. That's not a real-time count.
But it was the recruitment numbers. The recruitments per month is what I added up. So I don't need
2019 too.
Yeah. I was only adding up 2020, and it looked like it was over 25 guys. So I was just curious how that played out. I want to understand the dashboard. That's what I'm trying to get at. So if I look at my numbers, I would like to know do they make sense, or will there be a disconnect somehow in reading the numbers?
There could have been guys that graduated, expelled, resigned. I don't know exactly every single scenario, but those should all add up. I do want to show you. So this is not a dashboard. This is actually called the chapter's profile. If you click over here, down here we're doing real-time calculations of how many members are on the roster. So Mizzou right now has 26 guys on their roster. So Lucas just chatted me. He said membership is at 26, which means Lucas has done a good job of maintaining the chapter's roster, because that's the number that we've got in here too.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So the second core component. So we know the first core component, recruitment goals, clearly communicated to the entire chapter. That's so important to get everybody bought in to your goal as the Vice President of Recruitment as a chapter. The second core component that we're going to talk about is recruitment standards. Recruitment standards. So these are the minimum expectations that you'll require for a member to be invited into the chapter. And so similar to last time, I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll. So if everybody could go ahead and vote, fill that out. Same kind of spectrum here. Number one, people say he's a cool guy way too much in recruitment committee meetings. We only look at whether they have the minimum, that should say GPA. I have an idea of what our standards should be. Our standards are clearly written, logged, and communicated to the entire chapter. So everybody get your votes in. I'm going to go ahead and write standards up here. All right. With 88% of people responding, here are the results. So 2 people said that people say he's a cool guy way too much in recruitment committee meetings. Brother, I feel your pain, man. That is one of my biggest pet peeves. Nobody said we only look at whether they have a minimum GPA required to be in the fraternity. That's awesome. That means you're thinking a little bit beyond just that one quantitative standard. So that's really good. You have an idea of what your standard should be. That's good that you're thinking about that. The next step to take that a step further is to document that on paper and make sure that everybody understands what's going on in your head. And 14 people, this is the best response. This is the ideal one. This is the best practice. Our standards are clearly written and they are logged and communicated to the entire chapter. So you all have been there if you've led recruitment committee meetings. If you've been on the recruitment committee for some time, you know what I'm talking about. You've probably heard the recruitment committee conversations that go something like this. Yeah, I met him. He's a cool dude. Man, I really think you should just get to know some more of the guys. I don't know if he's good enough in the social setting. Or my favorite, I want to piggyback off so-and-so and add usually absolutely no substance to the conversation. But when I was on the recruitment committee, I hopefully instituted a rule that still exists today. If you say he's a cool guy, or I want to piggyback off that, you were literally kicked out of the recruitment committee meeting. You weren't allowed to stay in there. That provides no substance to the conversation. It's not helpful for us to keep moving forward. And it's not an objective standard that we can all judge fairly. So this is exactly why we need, whenever possible, objective standards that we can all agree on and clearly communicate. Doing so requires that your committee and chapter members think a little bit more in depth about a person's characteristics or attributes beyond just the initial emotional connection to somebody. It really forces us to expand our conversation beyond whether they have a good GPA or not, which if they've signed that paperwork and if the university checks them out, that's great. But never mind the fact that he has all these other red flags about him. We want to have a little bit more in-depth conversation beyond just whether he has a good GPA. It also helps recruitment committee members have good values-based conversations with the candidate about their life and specific attributes. If they know that they're going to be asked to speak about that person at a recruitment committee meeting next week, and he has to be able to respond to something a little bit deeper than he's a cool guy, that's really going to force him to have better conversations, which leads to better results. So recruitment standards are a core component to successful recruitment in your chapter. And if you haven't already gone through this exercise with your recruitment services manager, I showed you how to find them just a minute ago, I encourage you to do so. We do have a template recruitment standards document that you can use to log your standards. And let me show you how to find that document now and where to potentially log that in mySigEp. Again, share my screen. So I'm going to go back to the main page. I'm going to show you this nifty little resources tab. So from your main page, you shouldn't be within your chapter. If you are, click back on the mySigEp logo and go to your main screen. So you have these different 9 tiles. It says hello, first name, probably says interested in career coaching or something along those lines up here. Click on this resources tab across the top. So when you get in here, here's going to be a lot of different sections of resources or categories of resources that you have at your disposal. Obviously, the one that we want to talk about is in the recruitment and balance beam scholarship one. This is everything related to recruitment, but if you want to access some more of the balance beam scholarship tools or templates or resources, you can click on that tile, and then those resources will open up. But the one that we're talking about right now is recruitment standards. So if I clicked on this document, it's going to open up and download a Microsoft Word file. And I'm going to quickly open that up just so everybody kind of sees what it looks like. This is really just a template document that can hopefully help try to guide a conversation. It's not an end all be all. It's not pre-filled out. We want you to take this, edit it, rip it to shreds, do whatever you guys got to do to make it yours. And even if this isn't the one that you ultimately use, this could be a tool that you have at your disposal.
Zach, if you mean to be showing us that, we're not seeing it yet.
Yeah, I'm looking for it too, man.
Okay.
I got 2 different screens going right now. Application not responding. There we go.
Now we see
You see it now? All right. So this simple document, not necessarily a game changer, just meant to be a good resource for a starting point in a conversation. So have a conversation with your recruitment committee and log what you guys will agree on as your minimum recruitment standards. This text here is just template text. Edit it, delete it, change it, do whatever you want, change the categories. This is just a starting point for a conversation. ultimately what we want you to do here is log and document your chapter's recruitment standards, save that file, and be able to store it for longevity's sake and share it with other members of the chapter. Mike, did you have a question?
Yeah, do you have some other real life examples that have been filled out that aren't just templates, but from real chapters that have executed on this?
Did not prepare for that for this call necessarily, but yeah, we've got a ton. Lucas, I think you guys had a different version of this. If it's okay, I'm going to pick on you. He put his in a little bit of a different form. I don't care what form it looks like. I don't care if it has a SigEp logo, anything. I don't care if it's purple and red. Ultimately, what I care about is that you guys agree to it and you use it. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to explain this as I get to Lucas's real life example here. This is mySigEp's document storage solution. So you see, I'm back at the main page. As soon as I log in, I'm going to click on Missouri Alpha. And then there's going to be a little tab here for documents. Mike and Steve, I don't know if you guys will be able to see this. This is something that we're working on, having volunteers have access to the undergraduate documents. You guys can mimic the experience if you look at the AVC side, but it won't be the same set of documents.
Right, yeah, I just checked.
So everybody that's a vice president of recruitment, you guys will be able to do this. Click on this documents icon here. It'll open up a new window. We've already got some predefined folders in here. If you want more folders, just let me know, but just some simple folders for storage solutions. And then you can open up recruitment and a balanced band scholarship. So Lucas and his team already have a couple of documents in here in the recruitment section. So if I opened up Lucas's spring plan, he's got his goal, he's got his committee, he's got committee expectations, different links. He's also got this other document where in this format, this is how Lucas and his team, they said, we're going to agree upon these things. This is what's going to drive our conversation as a recruitment committee. So we're gonna see, is this person aligned with our values? Is this person personable? Is he an athlete? Does he have ambitions to improve himself? Is he well-spoken? Those are the things that Lucas and his recruitment committee have agreed on, that these are going to be our recruitment standards. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It doesn't have to be anything overwhelming. It doesn't have to be 10 pages long. It just has to be something objective, hopefully as much as you can, that you guys can have a good conversation about. That's beyond, does he meet the minimum GPA requirement? And is he a cool dude, right? That's the whole goal here. Let's have a little bit deeper of a conversation about our recruitment standards and make sure that the entire chapter knows that these are recruitment standards. So after you've communicated them, maybe you've posted them in the Slack, you've posted in the GroupMe, whatever your preferred method of communication is, log those in here, because the next vice president of recruitment is going to be able to pick up where you left off and see the work that you guys did. And this is a good document storage solution to make sure that those are retained for long-term use. So recruitment standards. Log them for safekeeping in mySigEp and download some of those template resources that we have available to you. Those are some of the things that mySigEp and this tool can help out with core component number 2, recruitment standards. All right, we're sailing, we're getting along. We're gonna speed through this next one, but it's arguably the most important one because we're coming up on 7:45 here. The third core component is an active potential new member list. So as we've done, go ahead and respond to the poll that just popped up on your screen. I want to understand the tool that you use to track your potential new member list. All right. Here are the results. So overwhelming majority of respondents said that they use an Excel or Google spreadsheet to track their potential new member lists. That is probably the norm right now, I would say. Most chapters are using some version of that. A few guys responded that they're using mySigEp. One guy responded, we don't have a system where we're using the Notes app on our phone. Everybody can benefit from this conversation. So I quickly kind of want to go through our tool that provides you access to a potential new member list within mySigEp. So I've worked with a ton of chapters on recruitment pipelines. 99% of the time when I'm working with them, we're starting from scratch. Why? Because the previous guy loses it. It becomes stale because it hasn't been updated in 6 months. We lost track of who we were recruiting, who we should have taken off our list, and ultimately who became a member. The Excel spreadsheet file becomes corrupt. I've seen that a number of different times. The new VPR wants to reinvent the wheel and thinks he has the game-changing spreadsheet that's going to solve all the recruitment problems. Or the recruitment committee isn't focused enough. Only a few people had access to the old one, and it's not a chapter-wide activity. There's so many different reasons why we're usually starting from scratch when we start with a potential new member list. So I always say, no matter what system you use, the best potential member list is the one that gets used. So whatever system you decide to use for your chapter, just make sure that it gets used. That's the best advice I can possibly give you. If you start something at the beginning of the semester and you never revisit it, it's a missed opportunity and you're leaving potential new members and potential revenue on the table. So with all the options out there in the world, when we started building the mySigEp solution, these are some of the things that we wanted to create in a potential new member list. We wanted it to be cost effective, and I've already shared mySigEp tools are free. So especially in the pandemic when we were trying to minimize expenses, we wanted a solution that was cost effective. There's some potential new member list tools out of the market that are not free. So if you're using those, or if you know of somebody using those, you've ever explored those, mySigEp is free. We want recruitment to be chapter wide so everybody can access and see potential new members in real time. We want it to be simple, not scary, easy for somebody to pick up and keep running. We want it to be easy to connect with potential new members via phone, email, track their Instagram, track their Snapchat, whatever we have on them. We want it to be easy to track notes on candidates. We want it to be easy to track their status in our pipeline. So kind of a moves management sales funnel. We want it to be easy to track where they're at in that pipeline. We want it to be easy to integrate with forms that are on your chapter's website, like the membership interest form and the referral forms. We want it to be easy to import from whatever system we're currently using and transition over to mySigEp. And one that nobody will be able to do, no matter what tool you try. We want it to be integrated with SigEp's database and membership tracking system to be able to easily report new brothers and get them plugged into the chapter with a click of a button and into the Balance Band program. So I am going to review some of these tools that we have here in mySigEp. Stop sharing that. Close that out. All right. So back over here from the main page of mySigEp, you can click on your chapter in the top right, and there should be a third icon. Mike and Steve, your view may look a little bit different. I think Chris Gassman, some other volunteers on here too. I just see these two on my screen right here. But you guys may see a little bit of a different view. You have a little bit different functionality than the undergraduates, but you and I can talk about that at a later time. But so I'm going to open up Mizzou's pipeline. So from left to right, you see this is a really easy moves management system to be able to see. The left side is potential new members. These are where they start. Brand new leads come into here. You've made initial contact. There's a lot of things that could happen between initial contact and extending their bids. That's probably where you're taking notes, you're tracking a little bit more. And then you've extended the bid. It looks like Lucas and his team have extended 10 bids, and hopefully you're ready to almost report those 10 new guys as new members. That's that purple report button here that only the undergraduate vice president of recruitment will have access to. And then another status over here, if you want to exhaust them from your pipeline, that's the removed temporarily side of things. So before I get in here, I want to talk about all the different ways that you can add a potential new member to your list. one of those ways that is probably underutilized right now, because not a lot of people know about it, is through the forms that are on your chapter website. So every chapter has a chapter site. If you don't know what that address is, you can come over here to your chapter profile and you can click on your chapter site. That's that first link right here. Every chapter has a chapter site. That's a free website that's provided by headquarters. And one of the things that we did here in the last, I don't know, probably 8 months or so, was convert these forms to be integrated directly into your mySigEp pipeline. So for example, you share this link on your social media, a potential new member finds this, and he is interested in being a part of your chapter. He may want to come fill out this membership interest form. Your side will probably load a little bit quicker because I'm like sharing my screen and everything, but this form automatically populates with your chapter's name. And if I filled this out, a couple people will get notified via email that you have a new lead in mySigEp. And if I filled this out, that lead is actually going to populate right here in the first tab, potential new members. So that's the membership interest form. There's also a refer a brother form. So if you wanted to post this in your alumni group or ask parents or whoever, if they know anybody attending your university, refer them to our chapter here. You can send out this link to this form. And again, it's integrated with the mySigEp pipeline tool. So if it's a referral form, it'll come right into here as a new referral form. If they're new within the last 14 days, they'll have a little icon that says new. If they're from one of those other forms, like a membership interest form or a referral form, it'll indicate that as well on that person's card. And there's also other ways that you can add potential new members too. If you want to copy and paste an entire list over, so you're converting from your spreadsheet over to mySigEp, or you're using this to like report all your new members, this is an easy way to do that too. All you need to load potential new members is just their first name and their last name. So we know maybe you don't necessarily know the guy. We want you to be something a little bit more knowledgeable other than like Kevin basketball court. Like we want that to be hopefully a little better, a little more descriptive than that. So first and last name are required to add a potential new member. Phone number and email address become required to actually report that potential new member as a brother. The other way to add a potential new member is one by one. So say you are in class or you're doing something. This is also super mobile friendly. So you can pull this up on your phone and you can say, I want to report Nash Gillman. That's my dog. He's at home. He's upset with me because I've been at the office all day. And over here, Nash Gillman is now a potential new member for Mizzou. Lucas, don't worry. I will delete all this later. I'm sorry for messing up your chapter's potential new member list. So you see, I don't have very much information in here for Nash, but I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say view and update profile. And I'm going to add his email address, nashgillman@sigep.net. And I'm going to scroll down here and save that. Now you'll see Nash's email address is right there. So I could click send email. I could copy this into another thing. That's super user friendly there. But eventually I'm going to keep learning more about Nash. And Lucas is actually going to assign me to be that potential new member's owner. So an owner is somebody that's responsible for reporting back progress on that potential new member. So Lucas says, Zach, you're going to be the owner. And when he saves that potential new member's record, you can now see lead owner is Zac Gillman. As I learn more information about Nash, I come to find out his phone number. I come to find out his Instagram handle. And I met him at a Meet the Greeks barbecue night, learned about his living situation and his dorm. So I'm going to save those notes. Save those notes and go back here, and you see now that the Instagram icon is clickable. So I can click there from my phone. It'll open the Instagram app, or from my desktop browser, be able to do that as well. And if I click on the phone, it's actually going to open up my text message app and be able to quickly send that person a text message. So Nash has met a lot of the guys in the chapter. I'm ready to move him into the initial contact stage. He comes to a couple more of our events. I come in here to his notes and I say, Steve Channels also met Nash. He's great. I'm going to save that note. So now that note is now attached to his record. Nash is ready to be moved to the bid extended category. We're going to extend this guy a bid. So I'm going to move him over there. That's another way I can do that, or I can drag and drop. I'm going to move him over there. And so once he accepts his bid, all I have to do is click on this purple report button. So I'm not actually going to go through this, and nobody else tests this. I repeat, nobody else tests this. This triggers an accounting transaction where your chapter is going to be charged for $300 because by doing this, you're telling us that this person has accepted their bid and you're reporting him as a new member into your chapter. So if Lucas didn't already have the email and the phone number listed for all these guys, I'll actually show you what that looks like here. So I'm going to remove Nash's email here, go down here and click save. And I'm going to go back up here to report. It's going to pop up and it's going to say an error. I'm not allowed to report Nash until I fix that error. That error is I haven't provided an email address. That can't be blank. So I have to go back there and actually do that. Once I do that, I can click report. The next screen is going to ask me for his join date. And then I will be able to say, add his join date, press report, press submit. That member is going to be automatically added to your roster. He's going to receive an email saying, welcome to mySigEp, finish setting up your account. And then overnight, the chapter is going to get invoiced for that member's $300 lifetime registration fee. So it's a very clean, easy process to get new members reported into your chapter, especially if you're using this tool for the cultivation of these potential new members over time. Reporting them into the chapter is even easier because you just have to click one button. I also want to show you tags. Tags are something that we just added. Tags are things that you can say, you know, we met him, he likes soccer, or he came through the BMS process. And these are also searchable as well. So if I search for soccer, it's going to show me all the guys that I've tagged as playing soccer. So if we're scheduling a pickup game, I search for soccer and I can find the 5 guys that I need to text and have them come out to the soccer field. That's another cool way that this can help you out in your functionality. I can remove him. It's going to ask me if I want to remove him permanently or if I just want to remove him temporarily. Maybe he doesn't have the GPA right now. We want to revisit him next semester. I'm going to remove him to remove temporarily. He's going to come over here to this other category. I can also up here remove all the potential new members in a certain category. I can add potential new members to different sections of the statuses. And again, as I mentioned, this is all really mobile friendly. I don't know if this will work if I do this, but yeah, pretend this was a cell phone. Get rid of this. So pretend this was a cell phone screen. Across the top here are your different statuses. Really easy to be able to click in, view and update that person's profile, take some notes, save it, go back. If I want to move in between statuses, there are buttons to do that here. So everybody can be involved in this. Everybody can add potential new members to this. Recruitment committee members can drag and drop people between statuses. Well, only executive board members can actually click that purple report button. Because this triggers an accounting transaction, we don't want everybody and their mothers having access to this. Volunteers don't have access to it either. It's really the responsibility of the executive board to be the ones that come in here and press that button to report a new member. So the reporting process is 2 steps. Report the new member gets notification, and he goes in and registers. Sorry. So that is the mySigEp potential new member list process. couple other things that I want to show in here related to reporting to members. The chapter statement is something that you may want to become familiar with as well. This is a 24/7 live view of what the chapter owes to the grand chapter. And as I mentioned, overnight, these invoices get automatically triggered based on when you're reporting new members. So when you report a new member, overnight, we're going to run this in a batch. And the next morning, for every new member that you reported, you're going to receive a $300 invoice for. It looks like they reported 3 guys at the same time or in the same night. So these were batched together. You'll be able to see all the outstanding invoices and payments that are owed related to membership, fall and spring bills, fees, anything else related to your chapter bills. Also want to talk about the new member box. One sec. I'm out of shape. Haven't done this in a while. Also want to talk about the new member box. So when you report a new member, he's triggered an email to go finish registering. Part of that process is to indicate where he would like his new member box shipped. So if your new members say they haven't received their new member box yet, oh, it was taken away. The first thing you should ask them is, have they logged into mySigEp? If they have not yet logged into mySigEp, that's step 1 to finish filling out their registration and tell us where we need to send the new member box. This roster is getting updated. There's another way. So Alex, for example, says that he's never received his new member box. He's a new member. We'll just pretend. You can come right here and say, send mySigEp invites. That's also going to send another email to Alex saying, hey, you gotta get together, log into mySigEp, go in there. If you have any trouble with this, you can email membership@sigep.net. There's a lot of different moving pieces with the potential new member list. So I know this could be a little challenge to get used to, but I swear once you get used to it, once you get in there, it becomes like clockwork. It becomes a lot easier to manage. So the potential new member list is step number 3, or core component number 3 of our core components. So I'm gonna keep rocking. I know we're getting to be right at 8 o'clock here. So I want to wrap up the last 2 core components in the next 5 or 10 minutes. So thanks for sticking with us. A poll just got launched. Core component number 4 that everybody needs to implement in order to be successful with recruitment is a recruitment committee. I misspell committee every single time. Sorry about that, but I did it right that time. Good stuff. It looks like most everybody voted. It's a tie. Our recruitment committee meets weekly throughout the entire year. That would probably be the best practice, I would say. We only meet when we need to talk about something. That's pretty good, but you have an opportunity to keep pushing a little bit further. If your recruitment committee meets only during formal recruitment, there's a SIGEP. Sorry about that. Can you hear me again? Thumbs up. All right. My headphones died. Now I have headphone here. Here we go. So a SIGEP who is a real estate CEO shared with me a couple years ago that the best thing that he does as a CEO is makes all of his different real estate agents call into a weekly meeting where they report their sales. The act of kind of going through and reporting out to everybody your progress. This is how I'm doing. This is where I have an opportunity to succeed. Here's where I have a little bit of room to improve. Is a really good act mentally for your committee to keep pushing forward and to have that values-based conversation about each one of those potential new members. So the act of consistently visiting your result, assigning next steps, and tracking your progress with your recruitment committee on a weekly basis is going to develop positive habits in your chapter. So regardless of when your primary recruitment period is, or regardless of when the university allows you to extend bids throughout the year, you and your recruitment committee could be meeting on a weekly basis throughout the entire year. What I would encourage is you set up a standing meeting, whether that be an hour before or after chapter, or sometime during the week where you can get together consistently each week. In mySigEp, I just want to show you one thing related to tracking of recruitment committees. I'll share my screen here quickly. In the officers tab, if you're already an officer, you should be able to access this and you should be able to make changes to this. We want you to log who is on the recruitment committee. There's a couple reasons why. So it doesn't look like Lucas has anybody logged in here on the recruitment committee. So that's okay. There's a couple reasons why. One, that gives them a little bit more access on the chapter's recruitment pipeline. But two, it also adds them to a campaign where we are sending training emails to that recruitment committee member. So this is how you have a good first impression. This is how you make a sale. This is how you work a potential new member through that pipeline. And that's really valuable content. It's delivered by the recruitment service director. His name is Pat Givens, via email. Some of it's video form, some of it's resources. It doesn't hurt, right? Every little bit helps and kind of helps replace that recruitment workshop that you used to have maybe with a regional director. So adding a new person as a recruitment committee member is really simple. So from the officers tab, realize he's not an executive board officer, but he holds a role. You go up here to add a role. You search for the contact, so search for that person's name. I'm just going to add Lucas. I'm also going to come down here and say recruitment committee member, and I'm just going to add a start date. You don't necessarily have to have an end date. You don't know when his term on the recruitment committee is going to end just yet. It doesn't have a red little asterisk beside it, so you don't need to add that end date. But then you're going to create that role. So now Lucas probably just got an email. Sorry, Lucas. That says Zac Gillman has assigned you as a recruitment committee member, and he's going to be added into the campaign where we assign all these recruitment committee members to receive these trainings. So make sure that your recruitment committee is logged in mySigEp so they can make sure that they're getting all the training and everything. You as the Vice President of Recruitment also have access to some specific trainings in the BMP app if you weren't aware. You can also get there through mySigEp from that main page. If you just clicked on BMP app right here, that'll take you straight into the desktop version of the BMP app. And there's a little thing down there that says training modules. If you're the Vice President of Recruitment, you should have one there that's built out training modules for how to succeed as the Vice President of Recruitment. Probably a lot of this information that we've talked about here tonight is in there. So at your recruitment committee meetings, once everybody's assigned, it's really easy to just bring up the potential new member list and talk about it every single week or as often as you guys can meet. It's really important to get into those habits. You can review the outstanding potential new members. You can view the notes. You can assign new leads and ensure that each committee recruitment committee member has somebody that they're responsible for reporting back on by next week. So that's a really easy way to utilize who's on the recruitment committee and the potential new member list there together. I would encourage you, if you're interested, invite the recruitment services manager that is assigned to your chapter to sit in on the next recruitment committee meeting. They don't necessarily have to provide any input or talk during the meeting, but maybe you meet with them afterwards and say, hey, do you have any feedback for me on how I could better facilitate that meeting? The best resource that they have is that they're also working with 25 other chapters on how to best do recruitment, especially in this virtual environment. So I would highly encourage you to reach out to them and invite them. One of the things that I've noticed, and the reason why we hit home on this recruitment committee should be meeting on a regular basis concept, the chapters that have really struggled this year with recruitment are the ones that have kind of chalked it up, said the pandemic's really tough. We're not really going to try. We'll try again maybe next year or the year after, whenever things get back to normal. The chapters that are really crushing it are the ones that continue to meet on a regular basis, continue to cultivate new leads, to build that pipeline, and to push guys through that pipeline by meeting them, by trying to interact with them, even if in a virtual setting, to try to build those relationships. That's really a differentiator for chapters that I've seen this year. That's always been a differentiator, in my opinion, but especially this year with everything stacked against us. If you continue meeting, you continue pushing, and you have something on the agenda every single week to talk about, that's these potential new members that you're all looking at, you're really going to be able to be successful this year, given everything that's stacked against us. Joe, I saw you raise your hand. I got one more core component, and then we're going to wrap up. So I'll turn it over to you. What's your question?
Quick question on the lead contact. Does that have to be a member of the committee, or is it a best practice for it to be a member of the recruitment committee, or is it better to have somebody who really knows that potential new member?
Either way, I think it's just a text field. And so you could potentially assign it to multiple people. You can say Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Anybody can be responsible for them. And it can change as well. So maybe you assign it to me, who I'm probably the best contact or the best friend with this guy. So maybe I'm going to be the one that starts to bring him around to a couple people. And then the next week, I'm going to assign it to you because I've already met him. I've already gotten to assess his fit or not. And now it's your turn to assess whether he'd be a good fit. Good
Thanks.
question. All right, the last one we've got here, the last core component that we want to talk about is a recruitment mentor. So go ahead, fill out this poll, answer your response here on whether you have a recruitment mentor, you have your relationship with a recruitment mentor. All right, most people have submitted their responses. Go ahead and end that poll. Man, this is phenomenal. Steve, I have hope. This is great. The overwhelming majority, well, I wouldn't say overwhelming, but the majority of people say that our recruitment committee or our recruitment mentor is involved in our weekly recruitment committee meetings. So that's really exciting. Some people have said, I don't really know who my recruitment mentor is, or I've only talked to them a couple of times. I probably need to improve on that relationship a little bit. Or some people say, I don't have a recruitment mentor. In my opinion, absolutely everybody should have a mentor on the AVC or on the mentor committee that's a volunteer and somebody that they can lean on and rely on. There's a lot of reasons why. Longevity, success, institutional knowledge, making sure that the same vice president of recruitment next year isn't making the exact same mistakes that you made this year, and really talking about securing your legacy. So you put in a lot of hard work into it, but next year a brand new executive board is gonna come, and a brand new vice president of recruitment is gonna come, and he's gonna try to have his impact as best he can on the organization. But if somebody that's on the AVC can help guide that person and mentor that person and help kind of share the lessons that you learned as a vice president of recruitment to the next guy, that's going to make sure that that guy can pick up and run and not have to kind of go through the silly mistakes that you may have when you were first in your role as well. So having an alumni mentor in the area of recruitment can be super helpful. I'll show you really quickly in mySigEp how to find that, to see if you have one or not. So if from the main screen, I go into my chapter, and there's a tile over here called AVC Volunteers. And if I click into that, I'll be able to see everybody that's listed on the AVC and all their different roles. And I'll be able to see down here a guy named Paul. He's the mentor for recruitment for Missouri Alpha. And he started his role in early 2020. He hasn't ended his role. Here is Paul's email and phone number. I need, as the vice president of recruitment, I need to reach out to him and get to know him. Sometimes a chapter counselor may serve in that capacity as a recruitment mentor as well. But if you can find somebody that's dedicated to just helping the vice president of recruitment, and maybe they have a history or a career in marketing or sales, that can be really beneficial to the success of your chapter. So the fifth core component there, and I know my screen's getting cut off, our last one is the recruitment mentor. So to kind of wrap it up here, and then I'm going to do a little Q&A at the end. And if you want me to kind of go over any other features in depth, I can do that. If you want a tour of the Keefe House, that's our new headquarters building here in Richmond, I can give you a tour of that as well. But really to wrap it up, these are the foundational components. These are the things that you need. We call them the core components. These are the things that you need to be successful as the vice president of recruitment. There are probably a ton of other things. You can probably name 10 more things that you need to do. In our opinion, these are the foundational things that you really need to be set up with in order to succeed as a vice president of recruitment. If you have these things, your success rate is much more likely than if you don't. Let's put it that way. There are a number of different tools and resources out there to help you. I've already gone over the different resource tabs. There is a website, a landing page on the SigEp website. If you just go to sigep.org/help, there are a ton of help articles to help you navigate mySigEp, the BMP app, and chapter sites. So all these different processes, how to report a new member, how to add them to your potential new member list, they're all written out step by step in these different help articles. So that might be helpful for you or to train somebody else how to use this tool as well. Last thing I'll share, it's a shameless plug before going into a Q&A. In the next couple of weeks, I regret that we couldn't go over them here tonight, but we're still in development of them. The next couple of weeks, we are going to be launching some new tools to help you out with the Balanced Means scholarship process. So to host your application, to host applicants within mySigEp, to be able to easily transfer them over to the potential new member list. Take some notes on them. It's a lot of cool stuff. And there's going to be a lot of training that comes out, a lot of new resources that come out in the next couple of weeks regarding this new functionality within mySigEp. So just keep your eye out, stay tuned. There's a lot more here to come in the next couple of weeks. So to recap, to wrap it up, whether you are just the vice president of recruitment, whether you're on the recruitment committee, or if you're competing for your 7th Super Bowl ring, your foundation must be sturdy. You've got to identify what is going to help you succeed, set those things up, and crush it. These 5 things, these are the core components of recruitment. This is your recipe for success. This is your bread and butter as a vice president of recruitment this year. If you don't have these things, if you're not effectively using the tools that are helping you do your job, chances are you may struggle. We want to make that a lot easier on you so you can crush it in recruitment this year. We want to see you succeed. We want to see your chapter succeed. And this is kind of the starting place for how to do that as a vice president of recruitment. So if you don't have these things in place, you're not executing as well as you possibly can, reach out to your staff service provider and say, hey, I really need help with this core component. Every single one of them is going to know exactly what you're talking about, and they'll be able to pick up a conversation immediately with you. So I hope you took away something. I hope you learned a little bit of something in mySigEp. I hope not all of this was new to you, but if it was, that you're able to take this back, talk to the recruitment committee, and hopefully teach somebody else a little bit about this tool as well.